Okay. Hello, everyone. We've got about 65 people joining us, so we're going to wait just a few minutes to start on time as people start entering. That was not, you didn't hear what I said. Why is it not muting?
You got it in the middle.
All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes. We'll let everybody get in. We've got about 65 people joining us today, so everybody is muted. We are going to use the chat feature. So if you have a question, you can go to your chat feature and submit it that way. And we will answer questions at an appropriate time. Oh, wow. Okay. Let me change the setting to. All right. Should we get started on time? All right. All right, let's get my computer shared. All right, again, real quick, we're gonna get started here. Any questions you have, please use the chat feature. And I'm gonna turn it over to Cody, who's gonna do a nice tour of our 18-hole golf course construction project, as well as the putting course and the putting green and practice areas. So Cody, take it away. Thank you all for joining.
I'm gonna move you over a little bit there.
Yeah.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll take a tour 1-4. I'll just go through some of the changes. If you were on our last event, we talked a little bit more about construction methods and the things we're doing out there. This will be a little bit more of what we've done, what you're going to see when you return and are able to get out there, and what we have left remaining, and a couple of the other things going down at the putting course, putting green, chipping area. So thanks to Bob for doing all the drone work and getting all the pictures so we could do this. I appreciate the help, Bob. So here you have number one. You can now see the greens being grown in. You can see the new bunker up there. One thing you're going to see on these pictures as we go through is the bunkers are going to have some weird colors to them right now. We filled the bunkers with sand during construction because it's hard to get to the bunker once the grass goes down. We leave the sand in there, we let it cake over and kind of crust over, and we come back and we clean and scrape it later and then redistribute the sand to give it a fresh, clean look. So the bunkers have a little bit of discoloration. They're going to look black. They have algae growing on them, but that will be solved before opening. So if you see that in the picture, don't worry about it. It will be taken care of. So yeah, you can see the tees are not sodded yet. They're leveled. The irrigation is in. As you can see here, we removed a few trees above the black and blue tee here on number one, and actually on the yellow tee down there in front to get the shade off it so we get some healthier growth. But we hope to have the tees begin sodding sometime next week. Uh-oh. What happened to there we go, we'll do that.
Okay.
So zoom in out here on the fairway, you can see, the bunker's got a little bit of that algae growing in. You can see the new wrap of the grass going around the bunkers now. The bunker's much smaller. It was definitely sucked in over here on the right in the front, extended a few feet into the fairway to create a challenge. Little penalizing up here in the front of this bunker, but you know, you will be able to advance the ball forward. Multiple trees came out on the hillside there to open up some of the views of rocks. You'll really notice that on the prior picture on this left side, how much we've opened this up over here. Additionally, as we go through, pay attention to the deserts. We've had native on site since April doing devegetation. They're through the front 9 right now. Between our staff and native staff, we have cleared almost 45 acres of desert of devegetation, cleaning up, raking, tree trimming. So the deserts are going to be much more presentable as we come into the season. You can see the green here now. This was this past Friday. We're putting another round of fertilizer on the greens. You can see our critter fence around the greens. We've had multiple problems on this hole with coyotes and bobcats getting in, even with the fences up. But greens are coming in well. When this picture was taken, the green was only 24 days old from seed. We've had a little bit of issues with some water splashing and washing out the edges, but it's actually filling in quite nicely at this point. But this green, and I'll get to a display at the end of the golf course that shows you all the square footage changes to give you a summary of how much every green has changed, and the tee boxes as well. One of the other things we've been doing during the growing is you can see this black fence here where we have sloping around the greens, and with the potential of monsoon, we've been putting silt barrier fences up to ward against any major rain events and washing that green out. Number 2, you can see the changes here. Once again, the grass around there, each of the bunkers, and you can see how this bunker used to be all the way up here in the right approach.
That didn't change.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it changed there. It's changed on the Zoom. Just for them. Disconnect.
Sorry, folks. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Your computer's not liking this.
We've been having problems with this TV, but they're not seeing this, so
Okay.
they're seeing it now.
You can see the how the bunker in the front right of number 2 has been sucked up and created more of an opening, and the green is more accessible, especially for the higher handicaps. So you can now get that ball to roll all the way back there. This back left corner of number 2
Progress.
was raised up. It should be able to hold the golf ball a little bit better. Back right portion of the number 2 green was flattened out. We'll have some more area here to put cups, much more variety on a lot of the greens. You can see that on the bunker, there's a little grass knoll here, or a finger that goes down. So none of the bunkers will have steps in them anymore. If we get further on as we open the golf course and we have some challenges, we'll reevaluate whether we need them again. The goal was to remove them and to use some lower turf lines to create more accessibility for everybody. As we go along, you'll see groups, holes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is what we call group 1. So those were the first 5 holes that were seeded all in one group. So we did group 2. As we get to 6 through 11 and hole 13 is group 2. So you'll see the greens get a little bit thinner as we go because they're not nearly as old as this group of greens. Once again, you can see the new bunkers. It's got the algae growing in it that will be skimmed out and refreshed. The reason we do that again is so that we don't want to, there's so much going on when we're grassing around the bunkers. We put the sand in there, we let it cake over so we don't contaminate the sand underneath. We use the top layer as kind of our crusted protection layer, and we remove that once we distribute all the sand evenly. Hole number 3, once again, this was taken last Friday right after we had the storm come through, so the fences got blown around a little bit, and the fence hadn't been fixed yet. But you can see the bunker where it used to come all the way back here is we have now a new pod of bunkers up by the green. This green was expanded further to the left, further back. pretty significant percent increase on this one. We'll look at the chart at the end of it. But once again, you can, that higher handicap can now run that ball up there, and there's a ridge that runs right through here because there's a shelf in the back of 3 now. Higher handicap can run a ball up and use that ridge to actually run a ball to the back corner now. While we've given some of those higher handicaps the opportunity to play the course like that, these bunkers still present a challenge. That lower handicap, better players still will be challenging those bunkers. Some of the roll-offs you'll find, especially back here into the right of the green, is a little bit more severe than they used to be because the greens have grown so much. It's brought some of that more severe undulation around the green back closer to the green. You can see this blue line painted here. This fairway will actually get cut down to here. She'll have a collection area down in the front right of these bunkers. And this is more of a flat line where you can run it up. If you miss that line, it'll suck you down to this low grass area. Moving on to 4. Some of the biggest changes you see that a lot of the trees were removed around the tees where you see these more bare areas right here. A lot of these trees were boxed up and actually brought to the front entrance. We boxed 30 trees, and most of the trees at the front entrance came from the golf course. So we were able to save some money there and repurpose those trees as well for the front entrance. Additionally, a lot of these saguaros were exposed. You couldn't see these before. You couldn't see the other tee box. And it opened up a much cleaner line of view from the tee boxes all the way. As we get closer to the green, you'll see back here many trees removed, and I've got a couple of root photos to show everybody of why those trees were removed and the damage they did to the green. One thing we'll do once we get the construction company off the golf course is we will come back in and revegetate these deserts and put some natural vegetation back in there. That'll be a later project once much of the equipment is off the golf course. A bit closer view of number 4. You can see all the trees behind the green are now gone. We've added multiple saguaros back there. We're going to regrade, revegetate that area as well. You can now see the grass turf going around. You can see the finger. So this entire bunker is accessible along this front edge right here, plus this finger from the green side. We did do quite a bit of work on this green to restore Jack's original design here. You can see kind of this ridge here, and it goes much further up into the back of the green. There's a small shelf here now, but there's a ridge line right here to create 3 distinct tiers. The back 2 are semi-connected right here, and this is actually large enough to put a cup into. But you'll have a little bit of a bowl here, a more flat area, and the green was expanded pretty significantly to the right to capture a lot more cupping area right here in the front right green. But this back right shelf is now usable as well. This is back from construction when we actually dug number 4 green out. This is just a close-up of how many roots we found. You can see all the small roots, and then you can see this very large root that we found in here. This is one of many pictures I have, but just to show you some of the intrusion that was coming in and why we decided to take those trees out for the long-term benefit of the green. Even if we had just root pruned them, it would have been a matter of years before the roots would have reinvaded the green. We wanted to take that worst case scenario out of play by removing the trees and then restoring it with different desert vegetation. Additionally, it'll help open up a lot of airspace for the green, a lot of shade and light issues that would come on. But here's another angle of the roots coming in from the backside. We found roots through the green that actually came all the way into the middle and into the bunker on the front as well. So a little bit more close up, you can now see the undulations on 4. You can see this ridge line and kind of that V groove that goes up into there. You can see how the back right was flattened out a little bit, but you got a little bit of a bank board there. And then this area we flattened out to create much more cupping space along this entire front right to middle of the green now. Number 5, the big change with the fairway bunkers, it used to come about all the way back to here. It was moved much more forward, and this will actually be a fairway space here. The bunker was flashed up the hillside. This area behind the bunker was raised so that you can now see the bunker from the tee box. I think for the higher handicaps, this will take you out of play a little bit here. The lower handicaps, it moved in just a touch on this front left corner here, but it is much more visible from the tee box. Getting a little closer to the green, you can see this, the bunker used to come back to about here. It's now much more behind the green. And if these two lips were raised much higher, so you'll be able to see them. Much more friendlier bunker. We did a lot of work to really flatten out this front, but still keep it interesting. This tier in the middle of the green is probably a little more severe than it used to be, but we were able to get cups all the way across the front, left to right, and a little bit deeper into that front tier. Additionally, we extended this tier towards the bunker right in the back center here, where we can get a cup right there for when Andy's really feeling fun during a tournament. But much more severe on the tiering in the middle of this, with a little bit of bank board on the back center, back right. And like I said, flattening out that front so we can get a lot more left to right pins on that front tier now. Additionally, the Palo Verdes were taken out on the right here. Once again, we did find a lot of roots coming in here, and the mesquite behind the green was taken out for the same exact reason, found a lot of roots. We did replace a 3-pack of large saguaros right where those trees are. Down in the right here, this is the old bunker liner, the capillary concrete that was on the faces of the old bunkers. That material still needs to be put into a dumpster and hauled off property. That'll be towards the end when we're cleaning things up. A little bit closer view there. You can just see some of the tiering right here. See those saguaros as well. Number 6, you'll notice all the trees are gone in the middle of the fairway. This beautiful saguaro right here was in the middle of that really large mesquite that you couldn't see before. It'll actually make the right side of the fairway more inviting to play down. We will be adding a little bit of vegetation back inside of this wash just to soften it up a little bit, so it's not just a pure granite look. Additionally, we put a little bit of a soft berm right here. You can see where the water is pooled, and we did that to actually help the community drainage. There was a large berry pit dug in the middle of this wash. When we regraded it out, we had Gannett Fleming and the engineers give us an engineered plan on how we could slow the water down before it gets to the culvert up here and it exits into the community. We do have 2 major sources of water from the community coming from over here across the fairway and through this wash. And by creating that berm, we could slow some of that water down. And since Heritage had to regrade it, we got some free drainage work out of the deal on that one. Moving a little closer, you can now see that this bunker is much smaller, doesn't go into the wash. The bunker is pulled back from the green a little bit. You have a little bit bigger, lower grassy hollow here and right here. The green is a little bit more of a triple tier now. There's a ridge running right through here, and there's another ridge running here. There's some hard roll-offs and false edges along the front of the green. And there's some pretty hard fall offs on these back hollows right here to match the tie-in on the back. But if you're in this front bunker, you can see the back tier now. Andy and I will have a discussion whether we end up with tall flagpoles or not. But you are able to see this pin back here. A little bit more space between the bunker as far as grass and the green. If you happen to hit one on and suck it back, but once again, this is the beginning of group 2. This green, when the picture was taken, was only 7 days old. So you're just seeing a small green haze coming up with the green. So you won't see quite as much grass on the greens going forward on this one. Number 7, one of your bigger changes will be all the tee boxes. The tee boxes grew by, I think, 3,500 square feet. The black blue back here moved about 25 feet forward and maybe about 3-4 feet to the left. The next tee box was combined to create one large tee, and the tee expanded about 15 feet left and also 20 feet back. We'll now be able to use these tees as half and half and create some different angles with quite a bit of range of different yardages. From this, you'll also be able to see this edge of this bunker over here. This left side of the green side bunker was flared much higher, so you'll be able to see all the way back. From this angle, you can also see there's a little finger on the left side of the green. We split the difference between where the 2 stairs used to be, and we put a finger in there. You won't be able to see it on the tee box, but it will be an accessible area to walk in from the green side into the bunker, as well as this entire area in front of the bunker. Just a little bit different view from the ground level. Looking at the green, you can see the turf line up above the bunker now. close-up shot there where you can see this finger. This green didn't change all that much other than expanding a little bit, a little deeper and a little further to the right. The bunker did move in a little bit to open up from the tee box this lane, so a ball can be run up onto the right side of the green now. A lot of the tie-ins around the right side, not much different. The bigger one will just be this grass wrapping around here and the accessibility into that. This one I thought would be interesting to share. So as we were going around, we found a lot of issues with the drainage. We were finding a lot of plug drains like this, a lot of stuff from the greens, the grass hollows, and the bunkers that was just not functional. So as we've been going through, we added a significant amount of drainage to the green complexes, fixing a lot of these problems. Much more than was anticipated, but while we have the ground open and we can get this work done, we made the decision to move forward to make sure that all these issues were corrected and that for the long-term sustainability of the golf course, that we got this right while we had the ground open. Just one example of how bad some of this was. These two pictures were taken from number 7. We actually had tree roots also growing in some of our drain lines, blocking some stuff up. Moving on to number 8. Once again, you'll see the ironwood in the middle of the fairway is gone. That large arrow there actually came from where the new tee box is on number 10, where I'll point it out when we get to number 10. Much of this desert ended up getting disturbed. We put a large berry pit. For those of you who weren't on the first call, berry pits are just a giant hole in the ground where we actually bury all the organic waste, any sod, gravel, or sand that we can't repurpose for anything during the construction. No trash is ever buried. We haul all trash off the golf course. There is currently a berry pit on number 13. I believe there's some pictures down the line here that'll show it to you. But this is an example of an area we have to come back and revegetate all the desert. Another pile of bunker liner, and then there's actually a pile of old irrigation. So when they dug this berry pit, they found the old main line from the irrigation system prior to the 2019 irrigation construction. So this material will be hauled off property as well. And this entire area will get revegetated. A little closer look, we've got it all graded out and cleaned up. We'll get some vegetation in there. This will be the biggest change you'll see on the golf course when you come back. This green is not the original design of Nicholas. Jack just on his visit back in, I think it was 21, wanted some changes to this. So this green rotated about 45 degrees. You now have a pretty hard false front right here. You do have a new shelf back here, but you will be able to see this back shelf from the fairway. So when you're in the fairway, whether in the left or the right side, you're going to be able to see the entire green from the fairway. Got a pretty consistent shelf that goes from about right. They got a ridge line here and a shelf going all the way through. This upper shelf kind of bleeds out and blends in here. And there's no more low over here. You'll actually be able to play the ball at the right side, and this will kick you down onto the green. However, this is a pretty hard false front right here. This area is fairly flat with the exception of how it ties into the green. But much more visibility as you play the hole from below it now. Be able to see it from either side and even this back left pin. On the bunker, you can see we pulled it way up in here. There is a grass hollow just short below this false front. We added the finger on the green side to walk in since there are no more stairs there. You can access this bunker back here on the left, plus from here all the way around to the front as well. So multiple angles to get into that bunker. It's a little penalizing back in here and a little penalizing. So they got they're a little deeper up in front. They're a little more forgiving in the down center. And for the resident who hit their head on that tree and it was a keepsake, Andy's got your limb if you haven't gotten it yet. But the tree is gone. No more hitting your head on the tree. A little bit different view up close. You can now see the tiering here. You can see where the outside of the green now flows onto the green and would kick your ball down. There are some deeper hollows in the back, but no longer on the front right here. You can see this deeper, harder false front now. Number 9, green will look similar in size, but it's a little bit more of a punch bowl now. The green grew pretty considerably, I think by almost 40% on this one off the top of my head. We'll see the chart at the end, but definitely expanded further back left behind the bunker and in the back here. We originally found the green all the way up to where that fence line was. It's a little too severe to bring it back there, so we kind of compensate and we add a little bit more on the right and up this hill. The front's fairly similar to where it was, but much more of a punch bowl type green with everything flowing to the center and out the front. You can see on the bunker, much smaller. It used to come all the way back to around right in front of these valve boxes here. You can access this bunker from about right here all the way around to here, plus this dip. So if you're coming in from the left, you can walk in here across the front. Or if you're coming from the right, you'll be able to get in there, but no more steps. It is a fairly steep bunker, not nearly as steep as it was. You'll be able to see the pin on this bunker now. You get tucked up against that slope. It's still a fairly deep bunker to get out of. A little bit closer look there. A lot of the grass hollowing stayed the same around. The only exception is we took this knob down up on the top left on the tallest one. We just softened it a little bit. It's a little dangerous for our mower to get that high on that steep a slope, and it actually we get high centered on it. So we softened it up just a touch so we could, for safety reasons. Number 10, here's where you see quite a few changes. This is where the white tee used to be, right here in front of the blue tee. The new tee is now over here to the left with another new tee here, and the next tee, which I believe is the red and the gold, was actually extended further back. You can see where the cart path used to go here and across like this. It now is going to go down just the left side next to it, so it doesn't interfere with anything in front of the tee boxes. This white tee is much bigger now. We won't have the congestion issue with the range traffic coming around or traffic coming from 9 to 10. Everybody will be able to park to the left of it, and we'll free up a lot of that congestion right there where the old white tee used to be. This did change the angle of the hole a little bit. It's a little bit more of a dog leg now. It'll bring you actually, the bunker will probably be almost your center line or slightly left of the fairway bunker. Just another view from behind it. You can see this, and you can see the old cart path was right here between the tees. It's now just to the left. This area will get revegetated in with natural vegetation and tied into the new event lawn. You can see here the event lawn was expanded for future events. Not a lot of change on the fairway bunker. It's essentially the same size. We flashed it up the right side just a little bit to make it a little bit taller. We lowered this front edge just a touch, and the tie-in will be a little bit more subtle than it was before, but same size on the bunker, same challenge to get in and out. You'll see much more changes up here on the green. The bunker was definitely sucked in on the left side. Grass brought in around the front, and the bottom was raised up because we did have to protect against the large rain event and having the water go into the bunker. We'll get around and you can see the angle where we got the stairs out of this area now, and we'll get a little bit closer. A few trees were removed right here because from the left side of the fairway, you could not see the left side of the green, and the green grew tremendously to the left. When you get into the hollows, this hill will still block you, but if you're in the fairway, you can see the entire green now. A little bit closer view, you can see how we brought the turf up the hill, regraded this out, got rid of the stairs. The stairs used to be about right here. Moved that bunker in, and we do have accessibility all the way from about here to this front right corner, plus the finger on the green side now. The bigger changes with this green, it grew tremendously to the left and back. There's a little bit of a bank board in between the hollows, but you got some deep roll-offs in the back like you did before. The shelf was extended further to the right as the green grew in the middle back here. We'll be able to get a pin up in this area. It's much flatter for pinning spaces, and we'll be able to get pins much further to the left. You'll see that as a theme on all the greens as we go through, and as you see in the season, there's a lot more cupping space. Just a different angle from the right side. Here's the cul-de-sac above the bunker where it used to be. The stairs are right here. This saguaro planted right here was actually the one that was on the bank above the bunker. We just moved it over here. But very large, wide area, very subtle to walk down, a little steeper right here, but much wider area to get in there. And you can see some of the flatness that we were able to extend this shelf all the way to the back center now. There's a little bit of a hard roll off here, and this tiering is a little more severe in the middle than it was, but a lot more ability to put a pin in this location right here. Another angle of the 10th hole.
That frozen.
Well. Hold on one sec, please.
Go ahead, next to me.
I think you need a new computer.
We're trying to get it fixed.
There we
It's
go.
not the computer, it's the system.
There it is.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. So, just another view from the ground level. You can see the sloping here coming off the cul-de-sac and see the bunkering now. See a little bit more of the tiering in there, as well as how the top shelf extends all the way through the back center now. Number 11, the bigger changes you're gonna see on this hole is this bunker, the big bunker on the fairway left, is going to be eliminated. Chad from Nicholas Design, who's actually on property today, approving 17 and 18 greens right now, decided that this was a little bit more penalizing, especially for the higher handicap. Playing out of a fairway bunker here where the lower handicap, while it may catch a few balls, probably isn't as challenging for them. However, we're gonna put some grass hollows. The turf line will come all the way up into this area just below these saguaros. And instead of having a bunker to hit off, you'll have some rough to hit out of. It'll catch some of the balls going through that area, but instead of a bunker, it'll be grass hollows, similar to what we have on the right side of the fairway. If you remember, there used to be a large ocotillo right here. We removed that ocotillo. We actually replanted it back on the tee box. But Chad wanted to see these grass hollows extended to have consistency in the design through here. So an additional grass hollow was put where that ocotillo used to be, in a little bit of a flare up. That will catch you and kick you backwards into the hollows if you don't clear it now. So those will be the big changes you see here on 11 fairway. You can see the little bit of the shaping in there. They have to finish this building up on this area right here. Up to the green, not much changed on the bunkering on number 11. Same size bunker, a little bit extra grass in between it. The green grew tremendously. The hump that was in the back center here is actually more of a plateau now. We could use it to get some cupping on. Tremendous growth in the back left of the green, and to the left and to the back right here. The front's similar to where it was. There are multiple shelves, and there's a little bit of a dip in the green right here between the front and the back, but all locations are pinnable. You can see our irrigator Vompy right here. You can see these tracks on the green. This was taken right as he was repairing the green from a coyote getting into it. So he came back, and we actually roll it with a paint roller to smooth it back out and spike new seed into it. You can see those trails where he had to fix this. It's been a daily occurrence with the critters getting in. The fences help, but they don't stop everything. So, well, apologies, we'll go back to 11 here. So now you can see kind of that flatter tier in the back where it used to be a little bit more of a volcano where we couldn't put any cups in this area. And you can see how it's flattened out, and this ridge line kind of carries through right here. A little bit of a lull spot in the middle, and this raises back up to another plateau here. But tremendous growth on this green. You'll be able to use the back of it to actually bring a ball back onto the green here. But if you back here, it'll be a little bit of a harder roll off than it was before, since the green grew to that low area. Number 12, be pretty dramatic change here too. On the tee box, we're actually combining these two tee boxes together. There wasn't a lot of opportunity to expand this tee box because of the wash here and the mounding here that separates 11 and 12. So we decided to actually raise the front one up and combine it to the back to grab a little bit more teeing space in the middle here. Just so in the wintertime with divots, we've got some more opportunity. We expanded a little bit here on the left side where you walk on. We were able to add a few hundred square feet. You'll really see here between the tees how much cleaning out of the deserts we did. And you can see the tee box is actually being demoed up over here on the right side for the ladies. The one thing you'll notice, I think we have a different view on the next slide. There it is how much these bunkers on the right side were brought up the hillside. So they're all visible from the green now, and they're flashed up because the 12th green grew tremendously to the right and to the back. Additionally, this green group, we added a lot of depth right here on the peninsula going around this green. You can see the bunker again is wrapped in turf. This turf had just been laid. Turf comes a little beat up because from the time it is cut at the sod field to the time it's laid is almost a 24-hour period. Sitting wrapped up in a big roll, it tends to heat up a little bit. It does green up. We're not concerned about it. Bunkering in the front is very similar to what it was, other than the wrap of the grass. Like I said, the lobe that the bunker wraps around is deeper. And this corner of the green was opened up a little bit, especially for those right tees, the gold, the green, and the red will now be able to run a ball up into this area right here to get to that pin. Like I said, dramatically flashing the bunkers up the hillside. They're much more visible from the tee box, and it's a much more aesthetically pleasing hole from there. It really frames the green really nice now. But you're going to have essentially 4 tiers on this green. You'll have the lobe here. We'll have a tier in the middle, a front tier that's much wider, and then this back tier with a little bit more severe sloping. Here's the front slope right here, and then the back slope. So number 12 is part of what we call group 3. Group 3 is hole 12, hole 14, 15, and 16. They were just seeded yesterday. So they still look like sand right now. And we hope to be seeding the last group of greens later this week, which is 17, 18, chipping green and the putting green. But more of an overview look of the number 12. A little bit extra space in the back here as well if you run a ball over. Number 13, so here you can see that berry pit and that large pile of dirt. There's a really big hole dug in the middle of the hole right now. A couple changes on this tee box. This is the tee box in the last report. They talked about this will be raised probably anywhere from 12 to 24 inches. We'll see once this pile of dirt gets out of our way how much we need to raise it so that you can better see the right fairway. Additionally, this tee is going to move forward about 10 feet just to give us a little bit more of some yardage options to entice some players if they want to go right. It'll be right around the 225, 230 carry now, because the right fairway is a little bit further away than it used to be. The white tee is going to be extended back probably about 8 feet to give us a few more options and expand it to the right. So we'll have a little bit more teeing options here. The big mesquite up here in the front of the left fairway was removed. We added an ironwood back, but we moved it away from the turf. It opens up the fairway a little bit, but it also, that mesquite was pretty hard on the turf because that was the only entry point for carts going in there. So we put a tree back. We just moved it probably about 20 feet further back away from the edge of the turf line there. So there's the overhead that you can see. Here's the berry pit. This is where we bury all the gravel, unusable sand, and sod that we strip off when we take it out of the demo areas. Additionally, we reuse a lot of the soil that's coming out of here, and that's how we rebuilt the greens on the subgrades, the soil underneath the green, because a lot of the greens had to be raised up, so that we yielded our own soil by creating these berry pits. One of the benefits of the berry pit on 13 through this area is we were able to recompact this wash, so it's going to be much firmer. I don't know how long it will last. Maybe a major rain event will change that, but it's packed harder with clay and granite than it is with the loose granite, so that'll be helpful. You also notice all the trees are out of there. We wanted to open up the line of sight from the tee box, also from the left fairway to the right fairway. The bigger change on the fairway is the turf used to come all the way back to about here is where the old fairway line was. It was shortened up probably about 25 yards. That's my estimate. Also, the angle has changed a little bit. Zoom in. You can see a little bit better there. The bunker pretty much stayed the same on the 13th hole. The bigger changes to the green, the back edge and the back of the green were lifted to create more of you can visually see it from the left fairway now. The hollows behind it doesn't roll off to the back anymore. The back of the green actually flows back onto the green. So you have a fairly large shelf about right here through the middle of the green. And then it slopes off, and there's a fairly hard false front on this green. You can kind of see this ridge line right through here. And then you see this hard front, but there is a distinct tier in this front where we can put a pin, and then you can see the back of the green is raised up much higher, and the sloping of the hollow on the back is not nearly severe, and will actually, you have the ability to bring the ball back onto the green. Just a close up of 14, you can see how the bunker changed. There's not a lot of changes to this green. It's very similar to the way it was, other than it's just bigger than it used to be. The bunker changed dramatically. You can see the fingers now on the right side, or I'm sorry, the left side. You can enter from the green side. You can also enter from the entire front and this low point right back here where this little dip is. We don't have a picture of the 14th fairway bunker. It's still under construction. The fairway bunkers on 10, 14, and 17 are still not complete. That's what we're focusing on getting the green seeded first. We'll come back to the fairway bunkers. But not a whole lot of change on this. There, that ridge line right through the middle of the green is still right there. We did soften up some of the bowling in front of the green and a little bit on the left side here. It's not nearly as severe, but the green grew pretty dramatically. A bit different look from the fairway. Number 15, there's quite a dramatic change here, specifically on the tee boxes. You can see the tee box demoed here. The trees are no longer here on the right side. This tee box will be growing all the way almost to the cart path, right through this area, through this golf cart to these choyas right here. And we'll also be filling in this inside corner to create some more yardage options and more teeing space, especially in the wintertime when divots are a challenge. One of the neat things we did here is we flashed the bunkers up the hillside and we went up into the rocks behind the green. So instead of the bunkers being parallel to the green, they are now very similar to how the front was built, so that we have a consistent design strategy. The old bunkers used to be very perpendicular to the green and the direction of the hole. Couldn't quite see them, so there are grass hollows now in between the bunkers, but these bunkers flash up the hillside, and the grass line is going to go up inside the rocks. It will really accentuate the rocks behind the green. We did in this back left corner, we did flatten that out, so there's much more exit space to go to your cart behind the green now. Much subtler sloping on that back portion as well. With a closer overview, you can see where this turf line, this hole was actually sodded on Saturday. So this is grass now. Number 15 and number 16 were sodded this past Saturday, and the green seeded yesterday. So you can now see where these grass lines come up and they wrap around the rocks and up to the saguaro here, back around. I put a little bit of vegetation back up in this hillside, but much more visually stunning from the tee box to be able to see those bunkers flashed up that hill inside the rocks. Really brings the rocks to the hole too. The green grew pretty tremendously to the back edge. That's why we ended up going up there. One of our big concerns was how much water comes off this hill in a rain event. Instead of trying to get the water to go out to the left, we created bowls in between the bunkers to collect the water so that the water would not wash out our bunkers. The moguling in the front changed quite a bit. This is a much flatter area in between these bunkers because these bunkers grew pretty dramatically compared to what they were. There is some severe moguling still back in here, but a ball could be run up inside these bunkers now. Much flatter in here. There is a bowl right in here as it used to be. It shifted a little further to the left. This back tier is still the way it used to be, but it now extends all the way over to this bunker here. It's one big shelf. So there's a pretty severe sloping coming into this bowl that's right in this area, and a pretty severe slope that brings you down into this area, because this is a separate tier between the bunkers. And then there's another tier over here. This green grew quite a bit to the right here, but almost 4 different distinct levels to this green now. It's hard to see when it's just the sand there, but you can see this ridge line coming all the way across. There's a little bit of a dip here, but there's definitely a severe area that if you run short, it's going to bring you down into this bowl. Much flatter right in here in that front tier. A little bit of a little crest hump where this tier runs around like this right here, but distinct front right, distinct back center, distinct back left. Number 16, once again, this was sodded on Saturday, so this is all grassed in and the green seeded. There's not a lot of changes on 16. The bunkering and the green relatively remain the same all the way through. The green did grow to the back and it grew up the right, up the hill. But the bunkering is almost exactly the same as it was before, just updated. They were still what we call keying in and getting the edge of the green where we put the Bermuda sod right up to this line right here so that the surface of the green ties into our sod on the outside. But Maybe the only change is there were some sumac trees that got into these rocks right here. Those got cut down. So now from the tee box, you can see this left bunker and you could see these saguaros that you couldn't see before. Number 17, you can see the fairway bunkers. These are kind of rough shaped in right now. The only change you'll see here is these two bunkers were combined to make a larger bunker. So it'll be, instead of 5 bunkers, there's 4 bunkers. They will be a little bit larger. This last bunker, still a little severe. You get in it, it's gonna be penalizing. You'll be able to advance the ball, but not by much. So very, very similar to how they were, with the exception of these 2 bunkers being combined into one larger bunker. 17th green. The biggest change on this one is the back of the green was actually raised almost 2 feet back here. Front of the green, maybe closer to 12 to 18 inches. And by doing that, we could actually raise these bunkers up so that they could be flashed up the hillside. So they're very visible, even these front 2 that were not visible before. Very similar bunkers to how they were, a little bit different styling, but you'll be able to see them much better from the fairway. Everything around the green is fairly similar. The green is very similar to how it was, with the exception it grew in the back pretty tremendously. So this becomes a bank board back here. It's not nearly as deep as it was back here. A little bit closer look. They were still leveling this off, getting the grades in. 18th, pretty big changes. I'll point out there's a row of trees in the wash between the fairways. They are not staying there. Those are just box trees we're storing there so we can water them. A lot of this plant material is being used for the revegetation at the front gate and the front of the clubhouse. So trademark landscape. We stage these trees that we salvage off the golf course for them there, so they can be watered plus be used. You really see the difference up here in the bunkers now. The back 30–40% of the fairway bunker here on the left was filled in. And then you'll really see the 3 changes up here. The bunkers used to be in a line from left to right going towards the green. They're now stacked and staggered. From the fairway on your second shot, they'll kind of look like they're actually stacked up a hill and kind of on top of each other. The mounding to the front right of the green is still intact the way it used to be, with no changes made there, even though we removed the sod, just we get some better tie-ins. Zoom in here. A lot of this still remain the same in here. One of the strategy changes, it's going to give you the option to, if you want your best angle, to run it up into the middle of these bunkers. You have a great angle coming in from the left side in. You can thread the needle if you want to run one up in between the mounding in this bunker, or you can still take it over the top and go for it. But this will be your bailout spot. This will be mowed fairway all the way back to in here. There's some severe undulation back here. It's hard to tell in this picture, but these mounds also were taken down right here. These mounds were taken down back here, so the 18th green can now be seen from Jack's patio. It's frozen.
I can do that. It's like frozen on Zoom. So. It's just frozen.
Hold on 1 sec, please.
There we go.
All right, a little closer view, you can kind of see it from a little bit lower of an angle, but you can see the bunker liner going in now. Again, a little bit closer view, you can now see the space in there. You can see some of the undulation changes over here and the stacked look. This little pop bunker will be fairly severe. You get in there, it's gonna be a tough advancement. It's not that you can't get at the green, but it's gonna be a little tough. It's not very big. You can maybe fit a golf cart in it, but that's about it. Once again, this was taken last Friday. This green and this area is all sand plated off. This green is filled. It's all graded in and ready for sod. This is hole 17 is scheduled to be sodded tomorrow, and hole 18 on Thursday and Friday. There's almost an acre of sod to put on the 18th hole. So we'll be grassed in by Thursday on the golf course and seeded by Friday. And hopefully the practice greens by Saturday or the following Monday. little bit closer look. Not a whole lot of changes on the green, very similar to how it was before. It just got a little bigger on the back left and the front left. The bunker behind the green got filled in a little bit on this right side. And instead of having the grass roll down the face, there's a little bit more flat grass on the top, so we can keep that a little bit healthier. Great viewing area for the member guest up there yet. But it is tucked in behind there. The screen was flattened out a little bit right here to create a little bit more pinning space, which is going to be a tough pin coming off these mounds right here. But not a whole lot of changes on the 18th green. All right, the putting green. Here's what your new putting green will look like. It's actually going to be one large green. You want to keep going or you want to finish?
Yes, I want you to keep going.
So interesting, we found on the top green, the upper putting green was a green built on an old green. It was 2 layers of greens. So it was almost 5 feet deep when we cored the green out. And when we found that the upper green and the in between the greens used to be connected. If you've been a member for quite some time, I think you might remember that. So we actually decided to put that back in and then do a little bit of changes. So it's a little tough to see, but this will be the lower putting green as it was before. It'll be very flat, and that'll be your practice area. And then there's another new tier in the middle here that connects them. And there's kind of a bowl right in this area right here. And then this upper ledge all connects around like this. So this will mirror the golf course much more with some of the undulations and the tiering. You'll be able to practice some of the situations out in the golf course, but once again, you'll have flat areas down here just to work on technique or any lessons. This area remains pretty flat, so if you're short to get into the number 1 tee, you can quick hop out, hit a few flat putts here, but a little bit more undulation on this side of the green so you can replicate the golf course. The 2 greens combined together are going to be 12,500 square feet, so almost the equivalent of 3 full greens there. So it's going to be a pretty stunning, pretty good wow factor when you come out, look down on that. It's going to look really beautiful around that area. Couple different pictures. Now you can now see this ridge line right here and the separate middle tier. You can see how this tier comes along the right here and across the top and connects there. A little more slope on this back left corner. Once again, this was taken last Friday. They actually are putting the drainage in right now on the bottom of this, and the irrigation is all going in right now. And they should have that wrapped up probably by Thursday, and we'll begin filling this green. Most likely this putting green will be seeded sometime next week, probably Wednesday is what I'm guessing at this point. Just another few angles of this. It's going to be a really neat view coming out of the clubhouse and looking from up above in the restaurant. Short game area, a lot of changes over here. We really got a lot of input from Karen and Andy on how the space needs to be functional for practicing, for teaching, for the members and for the staff. So the green pushed in a little bit and rotated. The green got much bigger as well. You're going to have some rough and undulation over here to practice golf course situations, but you're going to have a lot of approach and apron area, short mowed grass over in this area. The bunker shifted a little tighter to the desert over here. We did put grass in above here so you can actually practice a flop shot over a bunker if you need to. You'll be able to walk in from the green side, you'll be able to walk in from the back side, from this side, and from this side. So 4 points of entry to get in there. And then the wedge tee right here grew all the way over to this bunker. You're actually going to be able to come on to the green and chip this direction. There's some low areas right behind this bunker. We'll be able to practice coming up to the green, putting onto the green from a low area. But we'll have a multitude of different things that replicate the golf course. So you can get golf course type practice in that area. This bunker will remain right here so you can hit fairway shots down the driving range. And then one of the additions, there'll be an artificial mat in the back here. Just for divot reasons in the winter, if we wear this area out, we'll be able to use the mat in the meantime while the area heals. So it'll be a 5x20 mat, probably be able to fit 2 stations. Hopefully this will replicate the golf course much similar, and this will be Bermuda grass, and this will be overseeded to replicate the golf course in season. Just another overhead view of the whole area. All right, so here's the chart I was talking about. These are all the, square footages of the greens. Here's the old square footage. So we had about 1 through 18 and the two putting greens and the chipping green, 102,000 square feet of greens. The new greens are now 129,000 square feet, so 23,000 increase. On average, across the entire of the bentgrass greens, it'll be a 28% increase across the entire golf course and practice areas. Just got the final numbers on the tee boxes this morning because they're working on them right now. With additional tees on 10 and some other holes, we had a 27,000 square foot increase on the tee boxes, almost right over 31%. So you're gonna have a lot more teeing space out there. We really tried to focus in on the par 3 so that we could have, especially for divots in season, and to give some different yardages and angles. So a lot of increase on the square footage out there. Get to the putting course. So putting course is still under construction. The number 1 top green, they're still filling it up. There's quite a bit of growth that we're finding around these greens. Some of the undulations are a little hard to preserve, and we've had some ideas with Chad from Nicholas Design and from Andy on how they want to use the area. Chad had some really great ideas on how to redesign these greens so that we can actually make multiple golf courses. So we can set up, we can crisscross the holes, we can run them up or down in any direction. So you'll get a host of different putting course routing. So we're going to work, as we're building this, we're going to keep that in mind, and Chad's going to come back and give us a hand with actually creating, I would say maybe 4, 5, or 6 different type of rotations where you get a completely different experience while you're down there on the putting course. You can see we're hauling in a lot of soil to raise these greens up. These greens were very deep. They had lost a significant amount of square footage. Can see some of the grade work in here. It's a little hard to see because we're still working in here. This is the area between green 1 and 2. We had to create a path for the bulldozer to get down in there. So there's not a lot of shaping on these 2. The bottom 3, a little bit of shaping on 2, I should say. The bottom 2 are fairly shaped. There's some tweaks to make on them, but we'll be able to go over some of the stuff we've done down there. So there's the bottom half of number 2. We did reclaim this area that had gotten lost. As we're going through, you can see some of the shading issues we have on the prior picture. You can see how far this mesquite tree grows over. I have a few pictures to show you, and if you didn't receive the announcement, we'll talk about what's going to happen with the trees down in that area and why we came to that conclusion. Same thing down here with this acacia and some of the encroachment from the trees. Number 3, this is green, where the cart path crosses. This is fairly shaped out. There's a couple of tweaks we're going to make in here. It's really hard to see this, but once again, we're expanding these. We're keeping a lot of the fun and the craziness of it while giving you a much better and improved experience that we can give you multiple routings throughout the putting course. And then the lower green, we found that this green used to only be about up to here, and we reclaimed all this square footage right in this area here and a little bit more back in this area. So again, you can see how the trees are overgrowing where the green used to be. Another look at the lowest green and the expansions. Still working on some designs with Chad through these areas, getting the input from Andy, Bob, and the club, and best way to create an awesome experience down there. So a little ground level look at this. Coming back up the hill. You can see all the soil we're bringing in to raise these up. And then the trees. So we did have an arborist come out, Eric Belcher from Bartlett Tree Company, a very large arborist company that they're actually a national company in America. One thing, this is the large mesquite that's at kind of the middle of green number 2. You can see the decay in here, and this is what he was pointing out when we looked at these trees. This tree is actually in some fairly poor health. Down here, you can see some rot and decay, and then you can see an old split right here in the tree at the lower crotch, and it's mended together a little bit, but it does pose a risk factor that it's going to split at some point. It's not in the healthiest of shape. And then on top of that, this is what we found when we just did a little bit of digging next to that tree. You can see all the roots that were coming in and making it very challenging to grow a healthy turf in here. So the email you received about some of the tree removal is based on a lot of this inspection. The arborist bringing his recommendations, us sharing what our challenges are with keeping a high quality product in that area versus having the trees. And then he also gave us a recommendation on some trees that will be much better suited probably for being in the turf. Mesquite trees are desert native. They're not used to getting this much water being in grass that gets irrigated almost on a nightly basis. Therefore, the roots stay shallow and they spread up along the surface as opposed to going deep. So using desert trees in the turf is not recommended. Just a couple of close-ups. You can see the large roots. This is closer to the bottom of the second green. We can see these large roots that we found on the edges coming in and the challenges it posed to keeping a healthy turf in that area. Oops. And you can see all the multitude of roots coming in on the edge here. All right, well, that concludes everything. I'm not sure what the questions may be. I can't see the chat currently.
Yep, let's look at it.
So,
This is on. All right, hold on a second. If the weather continues to cooperate, are we still well positioned to reopen the course on November 18th?
yeah, everything looks right in line. We're gonna miss our 90-day mark. I wanted 90 days to grow in on the golf course before the November 18th. So that 90-day mark is tomorrow. We're gonna miss the last two greens by about 2 days. As long as the weather continues to cooperate, we still hope to make that. That's a decision we can't make until we get a little closer, see what the health of the greens are as we get a little closer in there. And once again, weather dependent, but as of now, we feel very optimistic about it.
Where are the new tee boxes located on number 18?
There's only one new tee box. It's on the back of actually the 17th green mound above the transition path behind the green. It'll actually be overlooking the 12th hole as well. It's not a very big one. It's probably about 20 yards further back than where the current black tee is. That was connected to the 17th green mound.
Do you have plans to open the range? And if so, when is that?
Yeah, right now the chipping green's still being built and the cart path that goes between the clubhouse down to the putting course is essentially a highway. We're running a lot of materials into the putting green, a lot of materials into the chipping green, and a lot of materials down to the putting course. So we hope to, after Labor Day sometime, to start giving you some options. We really hope to get a majority of the practice greens should be done, or they will be done. That's the putting course and materials and locating it. I think there's an opportunity where we can maybe do some early evening, late afternoon, early evening after the construction company is shut down. And then once the putting course gets completed and we're not using that area, because there's a lot of dump trucks, tractors going through that area and it's a safety concern. Hopefully give you a little bit more daytime opportunity, but we still got to work through that with how Heritage's schedule is going down to the putting course. That's what it'll dictate it.
Thank you. Can you comment on where any fans will be, assuming we will have fans with the bent grass?
So being my first summer at Desert Highlands, yeah, I'm starting to kind of get the nuances of the micro atmospheres around every green. I feel pretty optimistic at this point, what I've seen, that we may not need fans. So many of you know I was at Pinnacle Peak. I pioneered the fans here in Scottsdale. They're a great tool. Pinnacle Peak had its different challenges with trees and oleanders and a much flatter golf course, much tighter real estate. I feel optimistic that I think we'll be okay at this point. It doesn't mean that a much more humid, wetter summer may dictate something differently. The greens that come to mind right now, as I've learned more of these microclimates around the greens, is number one. That mountain has a huge impact on number one. It stays in the shade 2 hours longer every morning. That green has been much slower to grow in. Number 15 with the mound right behind there and the houses to the left, it gets a little stagnant in there. Doesn't seem too bad. Those would probably be the first two greens I'd be concerned about if we would go that route. But I feel optimistic right now. That's something we'll look at next summer. We're not looking at it at the conclusion of the project currently.
Great, I think that's everything. Guess that concludes the tour and we appreciate you all. Oh, wait. Sorry. Are you still repurposing every tree cactus you take out?
We repurposed a very large portion of them, yes. We couldn't salvage them all. The company that does all that, they came into some areas where we either ran into rock and we can't get through it, or we ran into some areas where the irrigation system was underneath and main line specifically, and we couldn't do it, or it was too dangerous to do it. We did salvage as much as we possibly could with those things, with safety in mind primarily. And a lot of that was repurposed to the front of the clubhouse and the front entrance.
Awesome. Well, if that's it, then we are going to conclude the tour and thank everybody for joining us today. Thanks, Cody. Great
Yep.
job.
Thanks, Cody.
Bye.